Sometimes it's not good to give a preacher standing position, but y'all didn't give me a mic, so I make it a little better. So you give a preacher a mic and a congregation, we don't do too well. Mess around, I'll start saying amen and brothers and sisters. But every once in a while, if I happen to say that, just take it for love. But we're glad to be here, and we thank you for coming out, each and every one of you. And I was about to put our attorney, Mr. McFadden, on the spot, but I'm not gonna bother her. Well, we're gonna try to do this. We want to welcome you for this day, we're recognizing our Mayor Charlie Fulton, recognizing all of council members and our workers of town of Lane and our citizens of the town. We want to say welcome to each and every one of you. We want to recognize too our county supervisor, Ms. Tiffany Cook, our councilman, Jonathan Miller. Also, then we have Mayor of King Street, Mr. Tisdale, Darren Tisdale. I hope I got it right. I'm bad with names, so Tisdale. Then I know we have Mr. Barnett. Also, we want to recognize also our senators, Saab. Oh, they're easy to find, both of them together. Saab, yeah, y'all thinking about me. Okay, Saab and Senator Kirby. Councilman Sam Floyd. We start calling names. After a while, you can start using somebody after a while. That's why I don't like to do all that big protocol in the church. I would miss somebody. So, and to everybody that's here, we're glad to have each and every one. We have a small outline. We're not going to stay too long because we know it later this afternoon. I think we have the screening over at the council, and so we're going to go through this service, this ceremony here. And right now, after we're done do the welcoming introduction of everything, at this time we're going to have remarks. We're going to have remarks coming from Ms. Tiffany Cooks, our county supervisor. After that, we have remarks coming from Honorable Miller, from our councilman of the Williamsburg County Council. And after the remark from Councilman Miller, then we'll have Mr. Barnett will come with his remarks, then the unveiling, and then any comments from the Mitchum family, in that order. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I must say that this project has been a long time coming. And I was just sharing with one of my council members that it's been about 4 years that this has been worked on, and finally it's coming to fruition that we are able here to honor one of our own in Williamsburg County. I want to say thank you all for allowing us this opportunity, and also really thanking Stan Barnett and Councilman Miller, because I'm telling you, these guys were relentless. Mr. Stan probably was on my phone probably once a month, or if not every other week, discussing this project. So I am so thankful that we are here today and in good health and able to do this. To the family of Robert Mitchum, we are finally here to honor your loved one. We are finally here to honor the benefits that they have given to this county and highlighted our county in such a positive fashion. So I am so excited to be here with you today to share in this momentous occasion. So I'm going to now stop talking and turn this back over now to the next in line. Again, thank you all for coming, and please join us for the movie. We're going to have popcorn, so please come and pack out the council chambers in the county seat at 201 West Main Street. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Miller. I'm the County Council for District 3, my district. And I also would like to thank the mayor and Stan for working with me. Working with him for the last 3, maybe 4 years. And my concern was, I just want to say, my concern with the Reverend during the invocation was no concern about that. I was just wondering, was he going to try to do a collection after? But thank you so very much. And it is so nice to be outside again. I'm telling you, I know it's a little cold, but I'm not going to stand up here too long. But I also like to thank the Mitchum family for being present here today, and hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Stan Barnett. I did grow up in Williamsburg County, but have not lived here for a while. I worked with the county, and this project was a result of one of those things I worked on. It is my job to explain to you, to those of you who do not know, why this marker is here. Everybody knows Robert Mitchum was one of the great actors of the 20th century. He made over 80 major films. He starred with everybody under the sun who was a major star: Marilyn Monroe, Gregory Peck, Cary Grant, everybody. But why is this here in Lane? So here, in a nutshell, is why this is here in Lane. First, his father, Jimmy Mitchum, was born not in Lane, but Heineman, not too far from here. Grew up here in Williamsburg County until he was about 16, had a little small altercation over in Hellhole Swamp that caused the man to get really hurt badly from his fists, and so he left before the Berkeley County Sheriff came across the river. And he went to Charleston, South Carolina, lived on America Street, worked for the railroad when he was 16 years old. Goes up to New York City, enlists in the Army, and I think we're now to 1908, and a 3-year hitch. While he's there, he meets a young lady who's a daughter of Norwegian immigrants, Annie Gunderson, and they fall in love, plan to marry. He gets out of the Army, he comes back to Charleston, South Carolina, lives on a place called Ash Street for a little while, started working for the railroad again, goes back up to Connecticut, marries Annie, brings her back to Charleston, and they live at 84 Nassau Street. All these buildings are still there, by the way. And they lived in that house for 3.5 years. And all the time he was working in railroad jobs. Goes back to Connecticut, nobody seems to know why. That's where Robert Mitchum was born, the second child, in 1917. Another bad altercation from Jimmy Mitchum's Williamsburg County farm boy fists involving a conductor on a trolley car who was messing with his wife, Annie, pushing her to the back of the trolley car. Not a good thing to do around Jimmy Mitchum. Jimmy Mitchum picks him up, throws him off the moving trolley car, then jumps into the street, and in the words of his father many years later, stomped his brains out. Well, it's now time to move again. This move ended up with tragic consequences, but he moves back to Charleston. He had been a member of the railroad community there for years, so he knew all these people. And he had an uncle who was living in another house called at 34 Chapel, also still standing. And he moves in there to an apartment with his wife and now 2 children, and goes to work at the Navy Yard, working rail, where sadly he was killed. He was crushed between 2 rail cars in February of 1919. Okay? So what does Annie Mitchum do now? She's pregnant with her 3rd child. She's a widow. She has no income. She moves in with Aunt Idell, Robert Mitchum's Aunt Idell and Uncle Alfred, in the farmhouse, which is, I understand, was about 1.5 miles that way. I've been shown the site and I marked it with my mileage marker today. And a number of you I know are related to Idell and Alfred Mitchum. They lived there for 6 months, and Annie bonded with them and continued to stay in touch with them. She was from Norway. She had lived in Connecticut. She was not going to stay in South Carolina. Not practical for her to do that. No way to make a living. Times were not yet in the Depression, but not great. So she went back and moved in with her parents in Connecticut. That is where Robert Mitchum essentially grew up, there and in Delaware. But they stayed in touch. He knew where his father's family was from, and frequently said when he was a child, I am going to go see where our father was from. Well, the authorities in Savannah, Georgia, helped him realize that goal. He had left living with his sister in New York City and rode the rails. 250,000 teenagers during the Depression did that. They left their homes and rode the rails to ease the burden on their families and try to find work and just get out. And he was doing that. And he got off the train in Savannah in September of 1933, the Savannah archivist confirmed for me, and was arrested for vagrancy. If anybody remembers that, that meant you had to have a certain amount of money in your pocket. If not, they would arrest you. They arrested him, and they sentenced him to 30 days on the chain gang in Chatham County, Georgia. He was not happy on the chain gang. He figured out how he could escape. He escaped. They shot at him, and I assume he got rid of the striped chain gang garb and hopped on a freight train going north. Well, guess where that went? Right here. Since he knew that this is where his father was from, this was his chance. So according to Idell Mitchum, who told the story to her children and, of course, grandchildren, he showed up at her door unannounced, and there he was. She had not seen him in 14 years, and he stayed there for, I don't know, no one knows for how long, but he kept coming back. Sometimes, Idell told her family, she would wake up and he and perhaps one or two other young men would be asleep on their front porch. And this went on for a couple of years. His life matures, he gets married. 1940 brings his wife to the same farmhouse, and they stay for a while. One of her sons in particular, I think it was Douglas, was particularly remembered as talking about how wonderful that was and how excited he was about all that. He goes to California, begins acting, but occasionally would come back here, east, and when he came back east, he would always come and see them. 1945, I won't bore you with my recitation of his movie career, but 1945 he stars in a movie called The Story of G.I. Joe, which you can watch for free on YouTube. He was nominated for the Best Actor, for Supporting Actor, the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. He didn't win, but after that, he wrote his own ticket. He was at the top of the heap, but he always came back here. And the Mitchums who are here, who are close to that family, they know that, but there are not a lot of other people, even in Williamsburg County, who knew that, or if they knew that, they forgot it. But he did, and there are pictures, which if you go to the Williamsburg County website, I think they have those on there. If not, they will be soon. He hosted the Thunder Road is being shown a little while. It's not maybe his best movie, but the reason that was picked is because while he was filming Thunder Road, he hired cars. By this time, he is a very well off and very successful actor, 1957, and he rents cars to drive 23 of his family, Aunt Idell and Uncle Alfred and kids and grandkids, up to Asheville, puts them up in the same swanky hotel they were staying in for most of a week. Then he did the same thing in 1961 when he was making Cape Fear. So that's why this marker is here, because this is me speaking. I believe that story is the quintessential Williamsburg County family story. A young man who lost his father, a very painful gap in his life for him. He found it, a way to fill it, right over there, with people that you and I would all recognize. And I'm going to recognize one more person, that's Walton McLeod, former Representative Walton McLeod, who is also the father of environmental law in South Carolina. Now, Mayor Tisdale, and of course, when we finish unveiling the thing, if you could ask all of your Mitchum relatives of various stripes to get together, and we'll have a nice picture.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Charlie. Thank you, everybody who's part of this project. And I'm thanking for the family, too. This means a lot to the Mitchum family. My mother was a Mitchum. How many Mitchums do we have? Raise your hands.
I'm married one.
You married one.
I'm married one.
Oh, you a lucky man. I am proud of my bloodline, with the Mitchum bloodline in me. And I'm going to share a little story with you. And I can't tell you how much this means to the Mitchum family. This is really big for the Mitchum family. But I want to share a story. My grandfather, Mr. Robert Mitchum, I believe he was a Robert too. I called him Granddaddy. Well, he used to live behind me in a trailer, and he picked on me one day. And I walked in the trailer, and he was on the phone. And it might have been Ann Good Irons when he was on the phone. We had a phone in the house, and the house was so doggone big, I don't know how they heard the phone ringing. But he got off the phone and hung it down. And I was little. I know you don't believe I was little, but I was little. And he said, I just talked to Robert Mitchum. I looked at Granddaddy. I said, who is that? He said, well, he got on a train down here one day and he went to Hollywood and made it big, son. And he showed me a show with him in it. And I believe my favorite show was with him and John Wayne in a Western. That was my favorite all-time show. It'll come on at Christmas and I'll look at it. But he said, that was Robert Mitchum. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. I was that high, and I was proud of that thing. I said, I know a superstar, a Hollywood star, and he's kin to me, somewhere down the road. And him and my grandfather was second cousin. And undoubtedly, he kept up with my granddaddy. And guys, I was telling somebody a while ago, riding down here today brought back a lot of memories. And especially, I miss the Mitchum Christmas. We all spread out. You know how families get big and we shred, everybody goes their way. But I remember coming down on Christmas Eve night, and that was the most special thing, because we'd always stay up to 12 o'clock, and I used to tell Daddy, Santa Claus is leaving. He ain't gonna stop in King Street because we ain't home. He'll stop. But Robert Mitchum, to me, I've never met him, never sit down and talk to him, but he's family. He's family, and I know he's family. And let me tell you how I know he's family. He's got that famous dimple. You want to know Mitchum, you look for the dimple. You got any Mitchum blood, you got one. But I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, especially for the family. Guys, thank y'all. Thank everybody who had a part of this. Senator, everyone, everybody who had a part of this. Thank you. It means a lot to the family. That's all I have to say. And Merry Christmas.
Thank you, everyone. At this time, we want to add a little something to the program. We want to thank everyone who's already come up before. And at this time, before we're going to ask Senator Sapp, Senator Kirby, whichever want to come first. We'll have a few words.
Thank you, Rev. So Roger and I decided we'd just come together. This is incredibly significant. It just says so much. And I think Stan really said it best. It's a classic example of who we are and who we've always been as a community. The concept of it taking a village to raise a child, I mean, that's who we are. There's so many grandparents that have raised grandchildren, so many aunts that have reared nephews. I mean, that's our story, and that's a part of who we are. And to have it etched this way, I think it's just so fitting and proper. One of the things that Roger and I have committed to doing is making sure that we do a resolution that tells the Mitchum story in such a way that it's archived in the history of our state, that can be Googled or whatever the future search engines are forever, so that this story will be one that will never, never die. And so I'm just so proud of the efforts that you all have put forth in order to give us this opportunity to celebrate in this way. And so I'm looking forward to hanging out and popcorn. I just had one question. Are they Raisinets also?
Guys, I just wanted to just add to that briefly. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and be a part of this special day. You know, this is an historic day for Williamsburg County and for the town of Lane. And I'm just so honored to be here to participate in it, and just so appreciative. You know, this is legacy. So just thank y'all. Thank you for being here.
I think we're going to do the unveiling now, but I want to make one remark I forgot to say. Sandra Mitchum Morris, who could not be here today, is like a family historian for the Mitchums in Williamsburg County, and she was enormously helpful to me, and I know she's been helpful to all of you in knowing about your family history.
Cameras are probably out there. All right, you're going to get the audience to count to three. Stan, you're going to have the audience count to three.
All right, let's count. Ready?
1, 2, 3.
Keep going, keep going, keep going. Hey, hey.
Read it out, Senator.
Sure. So it reads as follows. Robert Mitchum was born on August the 6th, 1917, to James T. Mitchum and Annie Gunderson. Jimmy was the son of Thomas Dupree Mitchum and grew up in Lane, longtime home of the family. Robert's acting career began in the early 1940s and spanned 50 years as one of the most significant film stars of the 20th century, known for such diverse films as Cape Fear, Thunder Road, and The Sundowners. And it's continued on back. It says that he was born in Connecticut. Robert lived at his grandfather's in 1919. After his father's death at the Charleston Navy Shipyard on February 22nd, 1919, his parents lived in Lane in 1913, where Robert's sister Annette was born. Robert formed a relationship with his cousins in Lane and maintained it throughout his life. He likely visited Lane during his teen years when he rode what? The rails. Sponsored by Williamsburg County Council. Thank y'all so much.
Welcome once again to everyone. My name is Charlie Fulton and I'm the mayor of the town of Lane. I was excluded from all of this, but I thank you all. I don't know where people come from these days to think that here in Lane we would not have refreshments for visitors. That's unheard of. We show Southern hospitality. So before you leave, we do have some refreshments for you. And thank you all again for being here. Thank everyone who's been a part of this endeavor. We appreciate it so much. And trust me when I say, this is a great day for the town of Lane. Thank you. Could we have all of the Mitchums?
Could we have all of the Mitchums and Mitchum relatives gather? Where's a good place for a photo? Right up here. Helen McFadden, thank you for all your help.